The smell hit me before I even opened the car door. Burnt caramel, sweet coffee, hot milk soaked into leather. My brand new sports car sat in the driveway with latte foam dripping from the dashboard vents, like the vehicle itself was bleeding caffeine. The cream-colored stitching I had paid extra for was stained dark brown, and sticky coffee pooled in the cup holders, seeping into every seam. And standing beside it was my brother, Tyler, smirking. "Oh man," he said casually, spinning the empty cup between his fingers. "I guess I dropped my latte." Dropped, like the ruined interior of an $80,000 car was just another funny family story. The anger came fast, sharp enough to choke me, but before I could speak, Dad stepped out onto the driveway behind him. "It's just a car," he said with a shrug. "Just a car. Not the overtime shifts, not the years of saving, not the weekends I gave up while everyone else relaxed. Just a car." That was the moment something inside me finally became clear. This wasn't an accident, and it wasn't really about the car either. It was about the way they had treated everything connected to me my entire life. Temporary, shareable, disposable. I didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't even take the keys from Tyler's hand. I simply walked back inside the house and up to my room. And at exactly 11:43 p.m., while the house slept, I opened my laptop and quietly started changing things. Garage access codes, security permissions, vehicle registrations, storage authorizations, every system they casually benefited from because I had once trusted them. One click at a time, that trust disappeared. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. At 6:58 the next morning, my phone exploded with missed calls. Tyler, Dad, Tyler again. I ignored every single one. Instead, I stood in my kitchen making coffee slowly, enjoying the silence that had replaced their constant entitlement. By 7:10 a.m., the texts started arriving. "Where's the car? Why doesn't my garage code work?" "Dad's furious. Pick up." I stared at the screen for a long moment before setting the phone face down. Funny how panic appears the moment people lose access to things they never appreciated. For years, my family treated my life like shared property. My truck was family transportation. My vacation house was the family getaway. My storage garage became a dumping ground for everyone else's projects, tools, and unfinished hobbies. And somehow I always paid for it. Insurance, maintenance, repairs, utilities. Every time I complained, they acted like I was selfish. "You're lucky to have family," Mom would always say, "but family isn't supposed to feel like a constant transaction." At 8:15 a.m., I logged into the vacation property management app. With 2 clicks, every access code connected to Tyler and Dad disappeared. The garage gate reset, the door locks updated. The upcoming weekend reservation they planned for their friends? Canceled. The wine delivery arriving later that afternoon? Redirected. By 9 a.m., the family group chat looked like a disaster zone. "Dad, this is childish." "Tyler, give the codes back." "Mom, please stop escalating this." Escalating. That word almost made me laugh, because nobody called it escalation when Tyler borrowed my truck for one weekend and returned it 6 months later with a cracked windshield. Nobody called it escalation when Dad used my credit card during an emergency and somehow forgot to pay me back. Nobody cared when my boundaries only protected me. They only cared once boundaries inconvenienced them. By noon, I made one final call, the storage facility. "Yes," I said calmly. "Please transfer everything from Unit 24 into my private unit. I'm the primary account holder." The manager didn't even hesitate, because legally, everything connected to that space belonged to me. That afternoon, the storm arrived. I heard their car tires crunch against the gravel before the pounding started at my front door. 3 hard knocks. Pause. 3 more. I waited several seconds before opening it. Tyler stood there furious, his face flushed red. Where's my stuff? I leaned casually against the doorway. Your stuff? I asked quietly. Funny, I thought you said it was just a car. Dad pushed forward immediately. This is petty, he snapped. You're punishing family over coffee. I looked at him steadily. No, I said. I'm finally responding to years of disrespect. That silenced him. Not because he agreed, because for the first time, he realized he no longer controlled the situation. People become very uncomfortable when the person they underestimated stops cooperating. Behind them, a delivery truck pulled into the driveway. 2 large crates were unloaded onto my porch. I signed for them calmly while Tyler stared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe he didn't, because the version of me that accepted being used had finally disappeared. Enjoy your weekend, I said before closing the door, and don't bother trying the garage again. The lock clicked shut between us, and for once, I didn't feel guilty. The next morning, Tyler tried accessing the garage again. The motion sensors sent a live feed directly to my phone. There he was, aggressively punching the keypad while Dad paced behind him, muttering suggestions about breaking the lock. What they didn't know was that the garage was already empty. Every tool, every collectible, every spare car part they'd stored there for years without paying a cent. Gone. The moving crew had picked everything up overnight and transferred it into secure storage under my name alone. Watching them stare through the empty garage windows felt strangely symbolic. For years, they assumed access was permanent simply because I stayed quiet. Silence can look a lot like permission to selfish people. At 9:26 a.m., Tyler sent another message. This means war. I stared at it for several seconds before smiling slightly. No, this wasn't war. War is loud, messy, explosive. This was something much quieter. This was reclaiming. By noon, another major surprise hit them. The family joint account. Years earlier, Dad convinced me to contribute heavily into it, for emergencies. But emergencies somehow included ski trips, expensive dinners, and Tyler's failed business ideas. That morning, every dollar I personally contributed had already been transferred into my private account, along with years of unpaid reimbursements I had documented carefully. At 12:37 p.m., Tyler called screaming. I let it go to voicemail. Then came Dad. Then Mom crying about tearing the family apart. But the truth was simple. The family had been fractured for years. I had simply stopped pretending otherwise. That evening, I made the decision that truly shattered them. The vacation house. The oceanfront property they constantly referred to as ours. Except legally, it wasn't. It was mine. Always had been. At 7:12 p.m., I listed it for sale. Professional photos, ocean views, full listing. Within 30 minutes, multiple cash offers arrived. At 7:46 p.m., Tyler FaceTimed me in a panic. "You can't sell it," he shouted. "That's our house." I leaned back calmly. "Interesting," I said softly. "You never called it our house when you locked me out of it last Christmas." Silence. In the background, I could hear Dad yelling and Mom crying while Tyler struggled to regain control of the conversation. But there was no control left to regain. That's the thing about boundaries. Once you finally enforce them, people who benefited from your lack of them often call you cruel. The next morning, they showed up again. All 3 of them this time. Angry, exhausted, desperate. Dad demanded access to the garage. Tyler demanded his property back. Mom begged me to stop this before the family breaks completely. I opened the county property records on my phone and quietly turned the screen toward them. Every title, every lease, every registration. My name. Their silence filled the doorway. Then I said something I had needed to say for years. "You taught me ownership didn't matter unless you were the one benefiting from it," I told them calmly. I finally learned the lesson. Nobody responded, because deep down, they knew it was true. The final moment came several days later. A delivery truck arrived carrying Tyler's sports car, or what remained of it after the coffee damage and failed attempts at cleaning it. The leather seats were ruined, the dashboard warped, the interior permanently stained. Neighbors watched curiously from nearby driveways as the tarp came off. Attached to the mirror was a laminated note. Some things can be repaired. Others reveal what was already broken. Tyler stared at the car in stunned silence. Dad looked older somehow. Mom looked away completely. And me? I didn't feel victorious. That surprised me most. I thought reclaiming control would feel like revenge. Instead, it felt like relief. Because this story was never truly about cars, garages, or vacation houses. It was about finally understanding that love without respect eventually becomes control. And control disguised as family loyalty can quietly destroy your sense of self. That day, I walked back into my house and closed the door gently behind me. No yelling, no dramatic speeches, just peace. The kind of peace that finally arrives when you stop allowing people to treat your life like something they're entitled to use. And for the first time in years, the silence on my phone didn't feel lonely. It felt earned.